Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you are all doing very, very well. Today, I have a very, very special guest with me, which probably doesn't need introduction, but here is Craig from the Anfield Agenda. How are you doing, Craig?
I'm very, very good. Thank you, Zane. I hope you are as well. I'm looking forward to what is going to be, hopefully, an excellent game tomorrow evening.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We have some of my loyals here. So Sophie is here. Thank you so much for joining, and Callum here as well. Just before we go into the Chelsea game, I just wanted to talk a bit more about the transfer window because some some interesting news came out today about Ronaldo joining United, and it kind of seems like that everyone around us are doing things well. We are a bit quiet. So, what is your take on this?
Yeah, there's no black and white answer to this. I think this is a bit of a grey area. I can understand what Jurgen Klopp is talking about with regards to not signing a Ronaldo or somebody who is maybe at the latter part of their careers and ready to come straight in now. Now that might not be what Liverpool fans or some Liverpool fans want to hear, but I think at the same time we hear that and we understand that we buy players who are 22, 23, create better players and, keep them on. And that's what this system has been around, renewing the contract to the players who prove themselves. But to go into a window where we hear that COVID has had such an impact on the finances of football. We hear that every club has been affected, and we're able to cover over our cracks because of the red bird or red ball capital investment of 536 million. But we seem to be the only ones that aren't really out there doing business. If you look at it, Zane, we're
Yeah,
in profit in this transfer window. And I
I
think
know.
even the signing of Canade, to me personally, I look at that as last year's mess being covered up and fixed. So to me, in this window, we're still at zero as far as I'm concerned, and it's frustrating. And I think the fact we have Jurgen Klopp as a manager, and the fact that we've such great coaches and such a great core group of players, is papering over some of the cracks for our owners, and it's quite simply just not good enough.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. And I'm very happy that we signed Konate, but I think it's just not enough. And what would you change? Like, who would you sign in which positions if it was like up to you this transfer window?
When we went into the window, we were all thinking the same thing: centre back, midfielder, attacking player. Now, some people wanted a number nine, a Divock Origi replacement, but
Yeah,
we'd always been led to believe that it was probably more likely going to be a versatile attacking player, somebody in the mould of, let's say, Rafinha, a Pedro Neto, somebody along those lines. Now, as the window went on, we started to see more and more big moves being done, and we started to see more and more availability of players. We, of course, seen Saul being linked to us. But from the very start, I thought Yves Bissouma would be an excellent replacement for Gini
yeah,
Wijnaldum if we wanted a like-for-like player who can come in and do what Gini did. The attacking option, I've always been a little bit more wary of because I do believe in Harvey Elliott. I do think he's going to be a fantastic footballer, but at the same time, he can't replace the minutes of two players. So at this point, I'd be happy just to bring in another attacking reinforcement if we can move Divock Origi on, because we have to remember we only have so many overseas squad places available. And
yeah,
technically, right now, we're full, but we know Loris Karius doesn't have a future at
yeah.
the club. So one will be coming available. And call me an optimist, Zane, but I still think something will be done before Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I was confident about that as well, but now probably not too much. And David here is saying that we will get at least two players in January. But what I think about the January transfer window is that not much clubs want to do business in January. So I'm a bit reluctant on that, but it's always a possibility. But coming back about the Origi situation, do you really think that he is like okay with being on a bench and not getting that much game time as long as he is at Liverpool, and maybe that's part of the reason why he doesn't really want to move on, if that's true?
It's a very difficult subject to tackle, isn't it, Divock Origi? Because in one sense, we look at the romantic aspect of it. We look at the big goals that he scored, those Champions League moments, the goal against Everton. And then he could have left on a free contract, but signed on at Liverpool for another few years. So Ideally, I think I'd like a situation where a move pops up for Divock that makes him and his family happy, because that's important in this as well.
Yeah.
The club get the transfer fee that they hope for. And no, yeah, it is a strange one, because if you're looking at it from the point of view of, is he happy to sit there knowing he's behind probably 5 other players in the attacking lineup? It does question his ambition, but at the same time, we don't know what goes through Divock's head, and he earns, I think, around £60,000 before bonuses a week, and maybe he just won't get a wage of that caliber near anybody else. But he is in his prime; he should be looking to go and play, and I think he could do something for somebody lower half of Premier League, or certainly in Europe. But I think I'll go right into the wire with Divock, and I think, and the really funny part is when he set up that college fund in Liverpool, we thought
Oh
that
yeah.
was his bye
Yeah.
bye to the city, and I
Exactly.
think we were all expecting it to be very soon. Divock Origi moves on to pastures new, but it would be confusing to try and rationalize why he would be happy to sit as a fifth choice attacking player.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Original Gunner is here asking with links with Bissouma. I thought you said you would take him.
Yves
Or
Bissouma is a fine footballer.
yeah,
I would have absolutely no issues. United looked at him at one point. The price tag will probably go higher because the window has gone on, and Graham Potter and Brighton will be left with less time to find a replacement. The numbers being mentioned are around 35-40 million pound. And we are certainly still looking at Yves Bissouma. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of another approach, or a more concrete approach for Bissouma before the window
yeah,
closes.
yeah. I think that would be probably the best case scenario for me. I don't think we're gonna bring two players, but if we bring a midfielder, I would be content with this transfer window, to be fair, because even though contract extensions are not really a part of transfer window, we did do some good business there. What did you make of it, and who do you think is gonna be announced next in terms of contract extensions?
It's very interesting, actually. I was reading up on how contract extensions affect the amortization of footballers' values across the accounts of a football club. So, whilst we have agreed moves for the likes of, obviously, Van Dijk, Trent, Robbo, Queeving, Kelleher, Harvey Elliott, Alisson Becker, Fabinho, I've probably missed one or two more, and we expect to get Mohamed Salah, and we know Jordan Henderson's deal has been agreed. That's just a matter of time. So the fact is, on the balance sheet of the club's books moving forward, we've actually freed up more money, because we can now amortize the value of these players across the extended period of their contracts. So in simple terms, let's say Van Dijk had 2 years left. Well, Liverpool could only put his cost across 2 years. So we paid 75 million quid from whatever was left. They can only amortize his value on those 2 years. Now we signed an extension that can go across the 4 years that he's here for the club. So that means we're actually technically saving money on the balance sheet by doing this, even though their wages are increased. So, if anything, it makes me even more frustrated, Zane, that we're not doing any business, because we've
Yeah,
done some clever stuff. It's great that we're looking into a window where we don't have to worry about losing Mohamed Salah or Sadio Mane or Roberto Firmino, because in years gone past, we had to worry about having those players poached. But, if
yeah.
we give the owners very little credit, I will give them credit for tying down the main players, but that's about it for me on their front, I'm afraid.
Yeah, what do you think about Mane? Do you think I've heard something that he's been off, like he's in contract talks as well? Do you think he'll sign, he'll stay, or there were some rumors, I think, last season that he will leave? So, what do you think about it?
The pecking order of contract renegotiations for the front three seems to be Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, and then Roberto Firmino.
Yeah,
Now, this is purely guesswork from me, but I've always had the feeling we'll see two renew and one then sold next summer. So
yeah,
maybe the truth will come in who doesn't sign that contract renewal. And if you're to look at the front three, as much as we love them all, and I don't include Jota because he's new in the
yeah,
door, I just get a feeling that Bobby's the one whose legs may go, and
yeah.
Father Time may catch up with him. So I think we will lose one of them next summer. And if I was betting, I would say Firmino.
Yeah, I do have this feeling about Bobby as well, even though I love him as a player. I think he's brilliant,
Same.
but
He's my favorite
it,
player.
yeah, really, it might be the case. But if we move on to season predictions, so if we keep the team as it is now, where do you see us in terms of Premier League? Let's say.
I think to be honest, we need a little bit of luck to go away with regards to injuries. So if we look at our starting 11, it's comparable with anybody else who's in the league. Man for man, I think on our day we can take on anybody. But of course, when you're in 4 competitions, you're traveling away for Europe, you start to rely on the reserves and the benches, and your squad starts to become a bit more stretched. Now, I've got to be entirely honest and say I didn't see last season that we would end up with no centre backs. I didn't envision that happening. So we should have learned lessons from last season and left nothing to chance this season. So it's okay, Klopp saying we may not need a midfielder, but look at the sheer amount of minutes that Gini Wijnaldum played. I think potentially maybe only second to Bobby over the last 5 years. There are a lot of minutes that have to be replaced. So, a lot of people are pointing to what Jurgen Klopp is saying, but I sense frustration, if I'm being honest with you, and Jurgen Klopp. And I think that if everything goes our way, if we can stay relatively injury-free, I don't think we'll be too far away from the top of the table. I think we'll be there fighting, and there's no reason to doubt this group because they've done it before. Last season was an anomaly for many reasons. Obviously, COVID, no fans inside the stadium, we'd no centre backs. It's not excuses, but it is kind of why we weren't there or thereabouts. We still finished third. Everybody forget. Now that's not good enough. We should be looking for more than that. But the fact that with nobody at centre back really, we still finished third in a very broken up season. No fans inside the ground, losing 6 games at home, I think it was, throughout the season.
It was, yeah.
I think this season, no matter what, if we can just keep players fit, we'll be there or thereabouts.
And Dan is asking here, would you be happy with the FA Cup and second place? For example, for me, if the squad stays as it is, I would be probably okay with it. I wouldn't be happy because I do want to win the league. What about you, Craig?
I suppose it depends on how it comes about. If we're winning the league for a good chunk of the season, we fall away at the end and win an FA Cup, no. But Liverpool, in my opinion, second is nothing. As far as we're concerned, second, you might as well be fourth. Second to me is 0. It's first or nothing. And Liverpool exists to win trophies. We always have. And under this manager, with this group of players, we've seen what they're capable of. So an FA Cup would be nice because it's the one medal Jordan Henderson doesn't have during his time at Liverpool. So I'd like to see him complete the collection. But I'd still see that as a relatively poor season, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I think I probably agree with that. So probably we can move on to the Chelsea game because it is the main topic. Is happening tomorrow already. And I'll probably jump right in with your squad prediction. So who do you think is going to play tomorrow?
I'm trying to think who I did recorded one yesterday with Alex Goldberg, and I'm trying to think of my starting 11. So Alisson, Trent, Matip, Van Dijk. I think Robertson will come back in. I get the feeling, as good as Kostas Tsimikas has been, he has had lapses of concentration in moments, and it's such a big game that I think if Robbo's fit and available, he has to start. Fabinho, Henderson. The big quandary for me comes with, is Thiago going to be fit enough? Will he go with Naby Keita? I can't see him risking Elliott. So I would probably go Fabinho, Henderson, I'm guessing Naby Keita. And then I would keep Jota in the number 9 position and Mane on the left and Salah on the right. That's my guess at tomorrow.
I've heard many shouts from the Chelsea fans who are saying that Jota is not creative enough and our front 3 are at their best when Bobby is there. So why did you choose Jota?
The manager has chose Jota at the start of the season, and both of the guys have been scoring, so I'm fine absolutely either way. I think Jota is more impactful to start with, and I imagine Firmino coming off the bench, if we're chasing the game, even if it's in addition to the front 3, it will just give us a bit of space between the lines, and I just think he's more impactful to start Jota. I think Bobby has a better impact coming from the bench, but I think it's a flip of a coin and who you like between the two of them. And they're both amazing and they both do similar things and have similar attributes. If anything, if we really wanted to be bold, we could start with both instead of the Keita that I spoke about and then let him and Jota alternate and try and find space between the lines. Because every time we draw the centre-backs out, if we can dispossess them when their fullbacks are higher up the pitch in transition, we can aim right in behind to those corners and try and exploit the space that they'll be looking to exploit from Trent and Robbo. So I'd like to flip it around and try and have them confused as to whether the centre-back should come or go. Because if Bobby or Jota drops deep into the space, that's where we find that gaps between the lines. I like to call it that little David Silva position. And if we can tempt Chelsea centre backs out, then we could find space in behind for Mo. And that's why it's hard to pick between the two. But God, I'd love the two of them to start. I'd love them both to start and to alter and switch between which one occupies the central defenders and which one finds space. But will Klopp be that bold, particularly with somebody as tactically astute as Thomas Tuchel?
Yeah, I just wanted to address this comment because I don't think I agree with this. I thought Costas has been really great these two games, and yeah, he made a couple of mistakes, but in the end, who doesn't make mistakes? What have you made of his performance?
He's certainly the one mistake I think it stands out in everybody's mind is when he was caught on the edge of the 18-yard box in possession. But let's not forget as well, he's been involved in some amazing crosses that have led to goals. He's won the ball back when a keeper threw the ball out from his anticipation alone to stay on the front foot. So I think Kostas Tsimikas he's really upped my expectations of him, particularly from pre-season and the first two games. So rather than having a situation where Andy Robertson is just nailed on every single week, and if Andy Robertson's out, we're up shit creek without a paddle. Now we have a situation where we have a very, very good fullback replacement there who hopefully will make Robertson, if it's even humanly possible, increase his levels. And my God, don't they both have a great engine to get up and down the pitch.
Oh yeah, they could run forever. I think it's just crazy. Dan is here saying I play Fab, Thiago, and Henderson. I agree with Fab and Henderson, but Thiago kind of the last game when he played, he looked a bit shaky. Maybe he is not 100% into it. So yeah, I think I agree with Craig, and I would put Kate in the midfield as well. Continuing about the game, how important do you think it's going to be in terms of league positions? And for example, some people are saying, oh, if we lose this game, our title is gone. But that's, I think, being crazy because it will be only the third game of season. But yeah, how important do you think it is?
It's important, of course it is. You want to get off to a good start, but do you think that when Manchester City lost to Spurs, their fans were sitting there at home thinking, "Well, that's the league. Hey, that's the league finished. We might as well give up"? No, there's just a certain portion of our fan base, and look, I'm sure they're in every fan base, but I can only speak about Liverpool's fans because they're the ones I interact with most. That like to overreact, that are a little bit over emotional when it comes to things. I think a draw wouldn't be the end of the world. A loss would be a blow. But I think the worst part for me is if we got a negative result, we're going into an international break, so we've got to sit on it for 2 weeks before we can put that right wrong. But I predicted a 2-1 win for Liverpool. I'm very confident tomorrow because we're at our best when we're written off and we're underdogs. And this group of players, they got the name mentality monsters for a reason. They'll be ready for this.
Yeah, I think definitely. When talking about Chelsea, they just signed Lukaku, obviously. Do you think he is going to be the biggest problem, the biggest threat for us? Or if you have any other thoughts, who will be the biggest challenge for us?
Yeah, it's Chelsea have a veritable who's who of attacking options, don't they? I mean, Lukaku is as close to guaranteed goals as they could get in that system. He's improved dramatically since he's gone to Italy. He spoke before about not liking to play with his back to goal, but he's added that to his artillery. He's obviously, I would say, trimmed down, but he's also bulked up. So he's certainly strengthened himself and become more match fit. And then you've got the likes of Kai Havertz, Werner, who I still believe is a good player, just didn't have a good first season. Obviously, Pulisic, I think he was ruled out with COVID, or he was
COVID. Yeah, he is COVID. Yeah.
So you look at their midfield is kind of like our midfield in that there's players who look like they're doing simple things but are really doing a lot to control the game. So Chelsea are not lacking pace. Reece James going down the right hand side as well. It'll be interesting to see if he sticks with Marcus Alonso because he hasn't really given Ben Chilwell a look in on the left hand side yet this season. So they worry me because they have so many good options in so many areas and they can score from all parts of the pitch. And I haven't even mentioned Mason Mount yet, by the way, which is yes. So yeah, it's worrying. But at the same time, if you're a Chelsea fan, you're probably sitting at home saying, well, you've got Mane, you've got Salah, you've got Jota or Firmino. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk from set pieces. So, both teams are great squads, and it just makes for one hell of an entertaining game. And I can't wait. I'm so glad it's the later kickoff. I'm so glad it's at Anfield, and I can't wait to hear what Anfield sounds like tomorrow.
Yeah, but how do you think the game will go? Like, will we play as number one and attacking more, keeping the ball more, or try to play a bit more in the counter attack? Because in the Burnley game, maybe it was because Burnley forced us in the first 15 minutes, but it sort of looked like we are trying to play as the number two. Maybe it was just me, but yeah, how do you think the game will go?
I think we have to get on the front foot early doors. We have to press, and keep pressing, and then press some more when we're finished pressing. In transition is going to be really important. So we know that Chelsea like to get their wing backs forward. If our midfielders, if a Fabinho or even if a Van Dijk steps up, if we can win control of the ball in the middle third of the pitch and turn over and attack quickly, then I think we can get at them. And I think that's where they're going to look to get at us as well. I would just keep an eye on the four corner flags of this game, because that's where I think both sets of teams are going to look to drop the ball in behind to us to get Salah and Mana on, and them to get their wing backs onto as well. So I think the game will be won and lost in a pressing competition. That's what I think. Whoever presses most effectively and exploits the space left by the fullbacks will win the game.
So by the things you've said, I kind of get the feeling that you think it will be not a high scoring game. So it's like 2-1. I think you mentioned it will be 2-1 for Liverpool. So you don't see high scores in this game.
No, I don't. But again, if it finishes 7-6 to Liverpool, I'd be just as happy as if it finished 1-0 to Liverpool. As long as we're on the positive side of that result. I mean, look, we'd all love a high scoring, entertaining game. But this is one I think the world will be watching. And I think the players will know that. The crowd will know that. And Jurgen Klopp, it won't have gone unnoticed that his protege has just lifted the European Cup.
Yeah.
And Thomas Tuchel has done an excellent job since he's come in at Chelsea. And it's going to be, it's so intriguing from so many aspects, from a managerial player, from a head-to-head on the pitch, like players cancelling each other out. The Van Dijk versus Lukaku, obviously that's what the headlines have been around the world. I just think we will. I have a feeling we'll get the better of them. I just think we will be lifted to a new level. And Chelsea steamrolled at Arsenal. They didn't even have to get out of second gear to beat them. Whereas I think they're going to face their first real challenge of the season with us. And look, if we lose it, it won't be nice, but I'll still be backing us to come back from it. But it's so difficult to predict, isn't it? Because you're talking about a team who've just won the European Cup, who deserve respect, who've spent a lot of money, brought in a great manager, and have strength and depth all over the pitch. So some things will have to go our way. All eyes will be on the referee, of course, and VAR, as is always the case. But I'm fairly confident.
Do we know who the referee is?
I have checked. I'll be honest with you, Zane. I haven't even checked yet who the referee is. I'm sure somebody in the chat will know, but I haven't had a chance to look.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Lukaku versus Van Dijk as well. So how do you think this is going to go? Because Van Dijk obviously just came back from very long-term injury. So sorry about that noise. The window is open.
Don't be silly, no problem. I think it'll be interesting to see if we persist with the high line, because obviously Chelsea have pace and can get in behind, but Lukaku isn't as fast as Van Dijk. I know Van Dijk is coming back from a long-term knee injury, but I still expect that even if we leave some space and Lukaku gets a yard or two, I think Van Dijk will close down that space, and he will give him a much harder time than he had against that Arsenal defence, which he just manhandled. So I think I'm backing Virg in this battle. Well, how could I not? It's Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, exactly. It's Virgil. I think many people forget that it is Virgil van Dijk. It's not anyone else. But yeah, here's people are saying it's going to be Anthony Taylor. So don't expect anything nice.
Greater Manchester's Anthony Taylor.
Yeah, well, so many of them are from Manchester, aren't they? Like David Good last year was from Manchester as well, and we all know.
There's a few of them that like to holiday together as well and go away together.
I think it was Thailand, and they have those pictures all together, and every time I see them, that picture is just in front of my eyes. I saw some comments earlier about the Champions League draw. We just put the Chelsea game aside for a second. So Edwin was asking, what do you think about the Champions League draw? I thought it's quite a difficult group. Of course, it's nothing we can't do. We proved 6 times that we can win the Champions League, but looks like it's the group of death. What do you make of it?
I'm so excited. I'm probably the opposite to a lot of people, and I said it before the draw. I don't like easy groups. I don't like Liverpool playing Midtjylland and stuff like that. That's not what we dream about when we want the European Cup. And let's be honest, if we can't get out of a group with Atletico Madrid, who are a good team, but we probably should have knocked them out 2 years ago only for a mistake, with Porto, who Sadio Mane just loves to terrorise and score against, and with AC Milan, who have an over-the-hill Ibrahimovic, and it's their first time back in this competition in a very, very, very long time. If we can't get out of that group, we don't deserve to win the European Cup. So for me, all great names, but I do expect us to come out of the group, and I'm very happy with it. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching Oil Clasico as well between PSG and Manchester City to see which one of them comes out on top of that group. But I think we top this group. I really do. I think I'm not being disrespectful to Atleti, who are a very good team, but we should be beating Milan home and away. It's great that the travelling Cup will get to visit the San Siro before it's knocked down and rebuilt. I think this is the last season. So, and Porto, they've lost Marega. They're not, I think, the threat they once were, although they do have a certain former Liverpool player, of course, and Marco Grujic in their ranks now.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm out of questions and everything I wanted to discuss today. So maybe if someone wants to ask a question in the comments, please do. But yeah, in general, thank you very much for joining me. As I said before, I really appreciate you coming on here and helping me potentially grow my channel as well. So I really, really appreciate that. And if you don't already do, please go to Anfield Agenda, which is Craig's channel, and subscribe to it as well. It already has like 116,000 followers, so probably most of you are subscribed already. But yeah, if you haven't, then please do.
It's my pleasure. I think I said it to you before we went live. I love the ecosystem of YouTube, that we all recognize the milestones people go through, your first 100, your first 1,000, your first 10,000. And it's a beautiful system because, you know, I'm at 116,000, but I still get fanboy status when I get somebody like Jackmate on as an example. Like, I'm still pinching myself because none of us expect the channels to do what they do, but we all appreciate that everybody starts, works hard, grows their channels. We've all been there, which is why I love this ecosystem and the fact that everybody's willing to help each other out. I think that's the way it should be. There's enough for everybody to go around, and everybody has an opinion that's as valid as the next person's opinion. So whether you've got 100,000 subscribers or you've got 10 subscribers and you've only started supporting Liverpool last week, I think we need to show that you are welcome in this community. And as long as you are respectful to other people, YouTube Liverpool football fans are here waiting for you.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, it's amazing ecosystem that each of us can help each other. And if someone wants to come onto my channel, I'm more than welcome to help as well, because we all have one thing in common, and that's supporting Liverpool. I think I saw one question we sort of answered already, but do you think it's possible we can win the league?
We can win the league, but I wouldn't be as arrogant right now to come out and say we will win the league. I think all the top four teams can make a valid argument, maybe even a little bit more so in United's perspective. I wouldn't have probably included them in the title race, but I think all four teams will be looking towards having a realistic shot of winning it. But the main thing is that we all in world football come together in the Champions League and just make sure that PSG or Manchester City never get their hands on big ears, because, you know, we want there to be some tradition in football and we want there to be some respectability. And I have not much time for either of those clubs, Zane, if I'm being honest with you. And I hope they never get their mittens on all big ears.
Yeah, definitely. I think we answered this question already. Craig believes that we can make a couple of signings till the Tuesday's deadline, but I'm not so sure, but we'll see. Like the comment Klopp made today that you never know, it kind of tells me that something might be cooking. But yeah, we will see about that. Edwin is asking expected lineup for Chelsea, same as they played against Arsenal. What do you think?
I haven't really thought it through, to be honest. I'm one of these people that more focuses on what we're going to do and worries
same.
about it as the game goes on. I mean, we're
Yeah.
at home. They should be looking to worry about what we're going to do. But I don't think I expect too much change. And from the Chelsea fan that I spoke to, Alex Goldberg, yesterday, they're not expecting too much of there. And the only questionable position could be on the left side. Will it be Alonso or will Ben Chilwell finally get a run out?
Yeah. Top 4 predictions, what do you think?
Oh, I'm not brave enough to go in an order yet, if I'm being honest with you. I did do them. If I work off the ones that I did at the start of the transfer window, I went City to win it, Chelsea to come second, us to come third, United to come fourth. But I did counter that by saying we'll win the European Cup. So I would be happy as long as we lift a major trophy. And I respect the domestic cups, but let's be honest, we're all focused on the Premier League and the Champions League. And yeah, I mean, I'll take Man City can win the Premier League every year for the next 50 years, as long as they don't get their hands on the one thing that all of that money and all of that skullduggery and the reason Pep Guardiola was brought in, as long as they don't get their hands on old big ears, I will die a happy man.
I bet you were very happy then this last final when they didn't win it.
I was doubly happy because, first of all, I didn't want anybody having Istanbul memories in England that wasn't Liverpool. So I was happy, although disappointed for a wonderful city that, they couldn't host the final. I was happy that no other English team was going to have Istanbul as their memory. And I was. I mean, Chelsea, of course, we have history going right back to the Mourinho, Rafa days and the head-to-head battles we had. So I have a bit more of a begrudging respect for Chelsea. So was I happy when they won the European Cup? Yes, although it's probably the only time I will ever say I'll be happy. I really can't stress enough how much disrespect I have for PSG and Manchester City. I cannot stress that enough. I have very strong opinions. I won't say them on your channel because I don't want to get you into any trouble, but I have very strong opinions on them. And I hope neither get the Champions League.
Yeah. And what about Leicester? Because I know it's only been 2 games, and usually they are very close to top 4. Like for the last 2 seasons, they were in it for most of the time. But this season, they seem a bit off it. So where do you see them finishing? Do you see them challenging for top 4?
I don't think anybody's going to break the top 4. I think, we do look at Leicester City as fans and go, oh God, they've got good owners, don't they? They look. I know fans who go home and away with Leicester, and the owners always look after them on the away trips with a little present on the coaches and stuff like that. Their transfer business has been phenomenal. How they keep replacing proven talent with more talent is just goes to show how good their scouting is. They've spent 100 million on a new training facility. They've brought in Daka, who I would have loved at Liverpool, and I'm still furious we didn't get him. They've kept Yuri Tielemans. It looks like Harvey Barnes is staying there as well. Brendan Rodgers is a very good coach. I just think the Liverpool job came too soon in his career. So I think they're probably the best equipped to challenge for the top 4 places, but I genuinely just don't believe anybody will be strong enough to break the top 4 this season.
And what about Everton? Because some people with the appointment of Rafa are thinking that they might show some strength this year as well.
It'll be interesting to see if they keep Richarlison in the next week because, that's apparently where PSG are aiming for if they do lose Kylian Mbappe, and that would be a big loss. Rafael Benitez is a good manager, and I know there's a lot of discontent between both sets, red and blue, about whether Rafa was the right appointment or not, but he will do a good job for them, and I think he'll probably have them finishing 6th to 8th, somewhere around that point. No, I don't think they'll get near the top 4.
And talking about Mbappe, do you think there was ever any truth in him wanting to move to Liverpool?
See, this is where I get confused from our owner's perspective, because before he signed for Paris Saint-Germain, it's well documented that John W. Henry flew him and his family around. They brought him on his private plane, flew him around. I think it was Marseille or Nice or somewhere around the Côte d'Azur in France, trying to convince him to make the move to Liverpool instead of PSG. Now, when you see how much he went to PSG for, we knew we were talking serious money to go and get this guy. So I don't see why they would have done all of that. And then he's still only, 22 years of age now, something like that. Yeah. And he's available potentially on a free and we're sitting back doing nothing. So why show the interest all those years ago if, when he is potentially gettable now, you sit on your hands? It confuses me, Zane, and it's one of a lot of things with our owners that I think we get mixed signals. And I've spoken to quite a few Red Sox fans who feel very similar, that the phrase that keeps coming back to me is they're tone deaf towards the fan bases. They just do not listen. I think the Super League fiasco proved that.
Well, it wasn't the first mistake they made, isn't it? So they really, really don't listen. And sorry about this question, and you cannot answer, but you know that our fan base is kind of divided in FSG in, FSG out. So which one would you be more leaning towards to?
It is, again, a nuanced question, because I can't be disingenuous and just say that they're all bad. I can't. That would be false, because they have delivered the Premier League, they've delivered the Champions League, a main stand, a training ground, improved the facilities around Anfield. They've done all of these things, which are good. But then the best thing, and the thing that has helped them achieve all of this, is believing in Jurgen Klopp. And now we're at a point where Jurgen Klopp isn't being backed. And I know Klopp says all the right things in front of the media, but that's because he knows how to keep morale high. I am FSG out in the right circumstances. I'm very worried about who the potential next owners could be, because the days of local boy, done well, create a business, wants to buy football club, they're over. Whoever buys football clubs now, it's either going to be an investment fund, venture capitalists, a state-backed entity. So I would be a bit concerned about who the next owners would be. But if you offered me another set of steady owners who haven't made the faux pas and mistakes and continue to make the mistakes that FSG have, then I would wave them bye-bye from the tarmac as the jet takes off, because I'd be certainly more FSG out, but in the right circumstances.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and not everyone can get owners like Leicester, so it's very tricky. But I think they should sell up, because they've done too many mistakes, and they will earn so much money, because if you think about it, they bought the club for what, 300 million, and now it's worth around 3 billion. So yeah, but yeah,
I've
you're
always
right.
been okay with that, though. I mean, I've
Yeah,
always thought about it like this. Somebody goes and buys a house that's a bit run down. They spend a lot of money doing up the house. They do up the back garden. They put an extension on. They make it all shiny and nice. And then a few years down the line, they sell it.
yeah,
And while they've been owners of our club, to my knowledge, they haven't taken a penny out of the club. Like, they haven't been milking off profits. Even for the main stand, I believe I'm right in saying that they loaned the money for the main stand, and there was an interest rate of, I think, 3%, which is standard to cover the cost of inflation over the period of time that the loan is there. So, yeah, they will get a big payday when they leave, but I think we've always been okay with that, as long as they translate that to a competitive team on the pitch. Because, I'd much rather owners that are this way than are doing what they're doing and also taking a lot of cash out of the club. Because let's
yeah,
be honest, if Roman Abramovich became bored with Chelsea tomorrow, or Sheikh Mansour became bored with Manchester City tomorrow, they could just start asset stripping down the club, selling off the players, and leaving them in a whole heap of trouble. That isn't going to be the case with FSG, because they have a vested interest financially, whereas the money means a lot more to them than the likes of Abramovich, who has so much of it. So, yeah, they're not the best, they're not the worst, but they've made too many mistakes for me to be forgiven. And the Super League, the way it was so cowardly, the apology was so pathetic, the yellow flowers on the table to make John W. Henry look old and frail, the camera angle, everything about that was PR
just the
101.
violin was missing, someone
It
playing
was
a
PR
saxophone.
101, wasn't it? It was a masterclass in how to make somebody look frail and old
Yeah,
and dithery, and he's not that. He's far too cute for that. And when you see the pictures of himself with Kroenke and one of the Glazers in America at a conference to do what I think baseball or NFL or something, where they're sitting down having a meal and red wine, that's where this Super League talk started to
yeah.
pick up pace from. It's no mistake.
And I think it was so stupid that so many fans immediately after they posted the video was like, "Oh my God, yes, that's fine. Like, we accept the apology." But I don't think we should have, because, first of all, what annoys me the most is that they threw Klopp and the whole team under the bus, because we were the first team out of the 6 Super League teams that had to go and play the game, and obviously everyone in the press conferences before and after were talking about Super League, and it looked like everything is just on Liverpool's shoulders. And Klopp had found out like the same time I did, and everyone sort of forgot about that. So that was the thing which annoyed me the most, that everyone just seemed to forgive them immediately.
They seem to believe that because it would look like the club would have more money and that we could potentially be more competitive, bring in better players, that we'd forget about the traditions of why we all fell in love with the sport because it's competitive. There are two different cultures that clash here. There's the American sports culture, which is great and works very well for them. And that's the way they've been raised, brought up, and that's the way they watch sport. In England or in Europe, particularly around football, the idea of earning a place on merit with relegation is very important to the whole aspect of football. We don't want a closed off Super League where the same teams are in it every year with guaranteed income and money, because there's already such a disparity of wealth in the game where, even sitting here as Premier League fans, we're a little bit hypocritical. We're a little bit fortunate because we don't have to really worry about what League One or League Two fans have to worry about. So I can understand why they all laughed at us when it happened, but I was very humbled and very pleased to see that everybody joined forces against that. No matter what club, everybody got together. Our captain rallied our troops and got the players to release a statement. And that told you everything you needed to know about Jordan Henderson. That's why he's captain of this football club.
And do you think something like that will happen in the future, like similar to European Super League?
It's been something that's been on the table for at least 10 years, I'm aware of. And we know that right now, UEFA have dropped their investigation into it because there was a ruling in the 17th Court of Madrid that gave Florentino Perez and the Super League the right to push ahead. That's being appealed, and there's a court in Luxembourg is going to rule on whether the argument from the Super League, from Florentino Perez, from Agnelli of Juventus, and from Barcelona are that UEFA are monopolizing football and they basically have no competitors and therefore they can do as they want with it.
Yeah.
And that's where it's so interesting to see what this court in Luxembourg rules, because I believe, and UEFA seems to be very confident, that the court will rule in their favour. Then it's what happens. And to me, Zane, this is where it becomes really interesting, because let's say Kylian Mbappe moves from PSG to Real Madrid, which looks entirely plausible.
Yeah.
What happens if Real Madrid are thrown out of the Champions League for 2 years? How can somebody have advised Mbappe to move there, knowing that that's a potential to happen? And it is like we got a little slap on the wrist, as did the other 9 clubs. We had to sign documents saying that if we left, we'd have a huge penalty clause. But these 3 clubs in particular have kept clinging to the idea. And it's no accident that these are 3 clubs that aren't in a great financial situation right now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the main reason why they've joined. But just wanted to put up this tweet from Jack. He's saying that Liverpool have taken a step back in the Mo Salah contract talks. FSG unwilling to go above 300k. So it's apparently reported by Fabrizio. What do you think? Like, should we break the wage structure? Because I believe we should for Mo Salah, but what do you think?
Obviously, very difficult to comment on something I've only just heard about now with regards to whether it's true or not. But from my understanding, he already makes over 300 grand a week. Let's not be foolish about this. He makes 200 grand a week or 220, like as his take home. Yeah. But bonuses are a huge part of the incentives in our players' contracts. You look a couple of years ago, I think one of Roberto Firmino's bonuses were leaked, and it was up to a point of he could earn up to 60 grand a goal at one point. So if Mohamed Salah signs or doesn't sign, even at the numbers being mentioned about 250 grand a week, which was mentioned in a lot of outlets as his base salary, I would expect with bonuses that to go past £400,000 a week. So I'm a bit confused as to what Fabrizio has apparently tweeted, but thankfully I have an hour to investigate before I'm live, so I'll be able to figure it out. But I think I'll tell you what I was worried about, guys, if I'm being honest. So we'd seen the ridiculous bids that Real Madrid are putting in for Mbappe. I mean, I can't make any sense of that. But my worry was that PSG turned their attention to Mo, and that it was a time where he has, 23 months left on his deal. And could they turn his head? I mean, let's be honest, the idea of maybe going and playing with Lionel Messi and Neymar Jr., when you're in probably a strong position with Liverpool to try and force your way out. That was my worry. So when I heard that they were after Richarlison, I was nearly doing cartwheels around my sitting room and thanking whatever God it is everybody prays to. I think it'll get done. I think the willingness from both sides is for it to get done, and I can't see what FSG's plan would be if it isn't to get Mohamed Salah to sign. Surely they would have moved him on this summer rather than allowed it to go to next summer when he's a year older and his value will have decreased. So, well, that's actually making me a bit nervous. I won't lie.
Yeah, well, I hope it's not true, because I don't think fans will take well if Mo Salah goes, and it doesn't look like there is a decent backup in the market right now. So hopefully it's not true. What do you think about this first Premier League manager to be sacked?
I had predicted Cisco from Watford before the season started. Then I got a little bit nervous when they had their opening day win over Aston Villa. But I'm going to stand by that or Steve Bruce, depending on the situation at Newcastle. One of those two.
What about Arteta? Do you think he'll be given the chance?
It's really odd because I don't think it matters if they sack Arteta. I mean, yes, he could do certain things better, but the real problem is Edu. The problem is the sporting director and the man who makes the decisions on who comes in, because football clubs are run different ways. The models in club varies, but the European model basically is the manager is a coach and the sporting director is there to keep the football philosophy of the football club no matter what happens. If a manager changes, the philosophy of right from the youth system through to the first team, and the way that you play and the way that you sign your players for that system is taken into account. And it looks like Edu could be the one that gets the sack. Now, I'm not saying Arteta won't be fired at one point, but the sporting director looks like he's in the most trouble at Arsenal at the minute, and rightly so, because they've spent 140 million to go sideways.
Yeah, well, yeah, here Oli is saying Arsenal's problem are far beyond the manager. And yeah, I don't know why I sort of like Arteta, but I feel like he's been let down. So I kind of hope they won't let him go. And I have a feeling that Arsenal will do okay. They just had quite tough first two games. But yeah, we'll see about that. I think this time we're gonna finish it. Thank you very much again. I think I've thank you already like 5 times, but I really appreciate it. So go subscribe if you haven't already to Craig's channel, Anfield Agenda. And yeah, thank you so much everyone for watching. And yeah, have a good evening everyone. And thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you again, Craig.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I look forward to hopefully chatting with you guys online about a win tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think 2-1 is gonna be the score as well.
And also,
I
just before I go, I just want to say to you and to anybody in the chat that may be suffering from some of the top red syndrome that tends to happen on Twitter, keep your heads high. There is no rules for supporting a football club. These people live in a pit of misery. They're a group of idiots that stick together and have been together for the 7-8 years I've been on Twitter. These same people have been calling out. They just don't like anybody trying to better themselves or get on with life or show some decency. So ignore them. I've seen what you've been going through. I've seen what some others have been going through. I've been through it myself. Carry on being you. Don't let anybody tell you that you can or can't do what you do or support a football club. You be you. And if people dig into it, they'll watch. They are seemingly watching. You've hit 1,000 subs. Congratulations. Ignore them. Let them live in their pit of misery.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. And we talked about this before, that our saying is you'll never walk alone, and we should remember that. And yeah, just be kind to each other, because it's not hard. And if you don't like something, there is no need to comment about it. You can just walk past and just ignore it. So yeah, I totally agree. And if everyone is going through tough time, like, my DMs are always open for that. We can talk about it there is many options for professionals who can help you with that as well. So yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely. It's always good to talk, always good to be open and honest about your feelings. And, a lot of this negative stuff is just projection of their own insecurities or their own lack of self-confidence. So, it's easy for us all to say, don't take it to heart, but we do. We all do. Let's be honest. I've been at this a few years and still some things sting, but, I turn around, I look at my wife, I look at my kids, and I look at the direction my life was and is, and I'm a happy man. So, I wish the same for everybody else.
Yeah, what matters is how you feel and what you want to do. So just we have to keep going forward and work hard and we will reach the goals we want to reach. So yeah, on that note, we're gonna finish. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a good win tomorrow. So see you all later.